Gareth Jarvis. I'm a psychiatrist and medical director in the UK, and I'm making videos about open dialogue, the socially inclusive way of delivering mental health care. This video is going to be about the third principle, flexibility and mobility, and what are the different ways that we can think about that in the way that we approach care. Let's start with a question. How should we go about delivering and organising mental health services? If we start from thinking back into what organises the way that we think about that, we've gathered ideas over a long period of time. It starts early in our training from whatever background that we're entering into mental health care from, and we get trained in specific ways of thinking, of assessing situations, the way that we then approach the conversations about treatment and understanding. And we get given processes to follow and expectations about the ways that we're expected to behave and be within a space. And we can also think about the fact that there's a lot of unwritten rules that also get communicated to us over time. As we enter into the workplace, there's conversations with supervisors, with colleagues, with leaders within organisations, and all the things that sometimes are not said but still communicated about the way we expect you to be around here, the way we expect you to respond and be with other people. And all of this starts to be gathered together, and both those trainings, and then we get to the systems and processes and protocols of an organisation forming in there as well. So the training of somebody, the unwritten communication, and the policies and procedures of organisations all start to come together and weave into an ever more rigid system of approach to mental health care. And I think that's true of whatever profession you're coming from, whether it's from medicine and being a doctor or a nurse, or from a psychology background and specific psychotherapies, or a social worker, or any of the other professions that might be involved in someone's care. Whatever background you're coming from, there becomes this this way that we're thinking we're expected to approach the care. Let's flip that perspective now and think about the person who's approaching the services and how do they want to be treated. They're arriving as a unique individual. They've got their own particular context and background that they would like somebody to take time to understand who they are and where they're coming from. And arriving in their unique situation and context, they come against a system that would like them to fit into a specific box or template or service. And that's when often the mismatch starts to occur. So this is where I think the opportunity comes with some of the changes that we expect within open dialogue and the way that we want people to be within the care. People are retrained to think about themselves and their backgrounds and where they're coming from, to understand what their motivations are, and to think very carefully about how they are within a space, and to then question some of that, to question, is this still useful or always useful in different spaces? Could there be other ways of being? Could there be other ways that we could approach having conversations and delivering care? In thinking about flexibility and mobility as principles in the way that care is delivered, we should start off by thinking about where do people want to be met? And that can be physically. So for some people, being in their own home is often the place that's most comfortable for them and can often give us a lot of information as we come to try and understand somebody in their context. But that's not right for everyone. So it might be that coming to the hospital and sitting in a clinic room might make sense, but equally it could be delivered in a local park or a community centre, wherever feels right for them and is respectful of their confidentiality and wishes. So We think about that being mobile and flexible in our approach by going to meet them physically where they're at, but also meeting them where they're at in their journey in their life. So we need to think about what they want to talk about and making sure that they get to set that agenda at their own pace. There's a great psychiatrist who contributed a lot to the thinking around open dialogue called Tom Anderson. And he talks about words being universes in their own right. And so when people utter their words for the first time, they're hearing them for the first time. And we need to be respectful of that and give them chance to hear their words and think about, is that what I wanted to say? How I wanted to say it? Is that all I wanted to say? And we need to be able to be flexible in not putting our own agenda in the way of interrupting that flow of thought and the process that is trying to develop the trust between us as the person makes sense of their experience. So we allow, nothing is out of scope in an open dialogue network meeting, and we as the people coming to support and help someone need to make sure that we're not letting our preconceived ideas as professionals get in the way of thinking that anything could be excluded from the conversations that could take place. And indeed, the conversations that we start having then with the person and the people around them who are important to them do not have to be limited to the person at the centre of concern. It could be that it's important to have conversations with all the members of that network, and that their different perspectives and issues and concerns need to be brought into the scope of the conversation too. So we can very much allow the opportunity to discuss each person's issues within that space. And I know that's often a shift from the way that we can traditionally be trained to in the way that we deliver mental health care. So we need to have the opportunity to be flexible in our thinking about who is it that we're there to support, and be ready to make sure that we're giving the opportunity to everyone to use the space. So we need to create a service that is flexible and is able to adapt and meet the person where they're at, to allow everybody involved in the care time to be part of the process, and to be ready to change in our approach and give the right space and time to respond to what is being put into the space in those conversations, and really have the opportunity to create an experience of mental health care that really meets the individual where they're at. I'm hoping you're finding these videos useful and interesting. We've got formal principles of open dialogue to discuss, and I'll make some more videos about those. If you've got any questions you'd like me to be answering in future videos, please leave them in the comments below. Hit subscribe, and I hope to see you again next time. Thank you.